I'm so passionate about this because I know that feeling of just sitting inside and the brain starts to do circles around itself and you start to think the same thoughts and you start to get in your own head. I just don't think that's fair to ourselves. I think we owe it to ourselves to exhaust all of those possibilities within our brain so that we can ultimately live a life that is not consistent in the negative patterns. Have you ever been just sitting on the couch all day, maybe in bed, it's raining outside, it's a lazy Sunday, as we like to call them, and by the end of the day, you just feel more tired? As I'm saying this, it feels like I'm about to hook you in with some kind of advertisement, but I'm really just asking because it's the most relatable feeling ever. I know that everyone can relate to a quote-unquote lazy Sunday and enjoying some quote-unquote time off. Let's see how many times I can say quote-unquote in this episode. But I want to bring that to this podcast and talk about it because I think there's a reason why we feel that way. And actually, I know there's a reason why we feel that way. And I want to relate it to not only our physical health, but our mental health and times that may feel a little harder than others. And I know, and I've talked about this before on my podcast, but if I'm feeling down and depressed, and believe me, I've been there in the deepest of my own troubles, right? But when those times come now, I always try to, quote unquote, change my state, quote unquote. All right, I'm cracking myself up with that. But changing your state and your physiology literally puts your body and your brain waves into a new perspective. And I ask you this for that relatable feeling of a lazy Sunday because oftentimes in life, I think we get so caught up in the day-to-day and the this, that, and the other, and we just want to go sit. But then sometimes we find ourselves longing for purpose or longing for things that we don't have or that don't feel attainable because we get so caught up in that day-to-day. But I guess where I'm going with this is the idea that stillness can sometimes equal tiredness. Now, the type of stillness in your mindset and your mindfulness is different than stillness just sitting on the couch. And again, there is a time and place for that, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. I just think it's in moderation like other things. And I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but the idea that when we do sit there on a Sunday and we feel more tired, I think it's a tell-all sign to us, because we can all relate to it, that there's something to going on a walk. There's something to moving your body. There's something in the mental brainwaves and pathways that when you start to create momentum, whether it's physically or mentally, you know the feeling at work when you get going on projects or tasks and everything just feels like it's in the flow and that momentum begins to build. And before you know it, you look up, it's time to go home and you're like, wait, where did the time go? Well, you just built momentum throughout your day by being productive. That same kind of productivity is the same kind of momentum that you can build when you're moving, when you're in your fitness goals, when you're in any kind of, right, like you go on a walk, and some people who don't walk much and come home, they're like, wow, my legs feel really jello-y, but they feel really good. Well, that's because you got moving and you got your body, you had an external stimulus acting against your body. And while they say, oh, it feels really weird, it's really your body saying thank you, right? And where I'm going with this is the idea that I think when we get in these times and these ruts, in those hard places in life, it's really easy to go to what's comfortable. And what's comfortable is taking the lazy Sunday, taking the time to just sit and eat our comfort foods and do what is comfortable, right? And I think I get asked all the time, how do you stay motivated? How do you do the things you do day in and day out with so much consistency and ultimately stay motivated, right? And I answered this on my Snapchat the other day, actually last night, but Not that that matters to you, because you might see this in 2035. But my answer to that question was the idea of linking the long-term result and the long-term gratification and the reward to the instant gratification. Now, do not get me wrong. When I have a 5-mile run on a random Tuesday morning, nothing in me wants to go on that run. But I know the endorphin rush and the feeling of accomplishment and the feeling of doing something hard to start the day, doing something that makes me uncomfortable. There's that comfortable word again. And that feeling of accomplishment, right? It's doing something I didn't want to do. And when the body gets going and gets moving on that run, it tends to become not easy, but you build momentum throughout that run, and then you get through it, and it's a world of difference. The rest of your day feels easy. It's the same idea as cold plunging. Nobody wants to get in cold water, but when you get into cold water and you get out, you feel like you've done something hard, and the rest of your day is easy. And I say this because, again, when external circumstances are going maybe the wrong way and what feels like the wrong way. And I think I encourage you and I challenge you to tap into seeing that as an opportunity, to seeing things that happen to us as things that happen for us, changing that vernacular of something happening to us versus for us. And when you can start to make that mental mindset shift and paradigm shift that things are happening for us, your subconscious begins to think of all of these circumstances in a completely different way. And things in your life, I promise, they start to unfold a little bit differently. But again, when we get into those situations, I think obviously it's human nature to want to feel comfortable, but it's doing something to get out of that. It's what is the switch in your head? And I realize I just went off of a whole tangent on the run and how do I stay motivated answering that question to all of a sudden talking about something else. But to loop that all back in, what motivates me is knowing that getting that hard thing done is going to build momentum. It's going to build the opposite of tiredness. You ever go work out, and I know I'm going to have somebody say, well, you're crazy. I don't feel better after I work out. But you actually get more energy after you work out because the endorphins are going. Your muscles are still working. Everything on your body is still working actively to try to recover. And it's triggering all these hormones, and everything in your body is just starting to unfold in a different way. And again, I keep coming back to this idea that when you feel something is going the wrong way, remind yourself, hey, let me do something that might be out of the ordinary. If I'm feeling super still, if I'm feeling super tired on a Sunday, maybe get up and go on a 10-minute walk. I encourage you, and the whole idea of this podcast that I want to loop all the way in and really give the challenge to you is to encourage you to go on a walk for 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Set yourself a movement goal for every single day. 30 minutes, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be crazy workouts. It doesn't have to be crazy runs. It literally just moving your body for 30 minutes a day. Not only, I'm so passionate about this because I know that feeling of just sitting inside and the brain starts to do circles around itself, and you start to think the same thoughts, and you start to get in your own head. And I just don't think that's fair to ourselves. I think it's when you do move your body, it triggers the physiological responses and the hormones and the stimulus on your brain to start thinking in different patterns. And I think we owe it to ourselves to exhaust all of those possibilities within our brain so that we can ultimately live a life that is not consistent in the negative patterns, right? The more we are cooped up inside and not seeing the light of day, the more that we're not exercising, right? It creates stagnance, and that stagnance then creates the same thoughts, the same patterns. And what that becomes, and if you listen to Joe Dispenza, he's a great person to listen to. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it. You start to have the same thoughts, You begin to have the same patterns and thought patterns. Think about it. When you wake up, you probably have the same thoughts every single day. Subconsciously, you are thinking the same exact thing. Well, that turns into a mood. And then that mood becomes consistent and in patterns as well. And then that becomes a personality. And before you know it, that personality is who you are. It is your identity. It is everything that becomes you. And when I say we owe it to ourselves to break up those patterns, I firmly believe that you deserve to give yourself that. And again, I resonate with it's the hard aspect of going to a gym. For somebody that may not have ever been to a gym, it's hard to go to a gym. But I'm not encouraging you to do that. All I'm encouraging you to do is to move for 30 minutes, maybe 20, whatever it is. Because if you're starting from 0, make it 10. And ultimately stir up that stillness, stir up that tiredness that we get from just sitting around. And again, I'm telling you this because I've been there, I've done this. And okay, yes, you can have a day off, but even on my quote unquote days off, there it was again, quote unquote, even on my days off, I'm still doing mobility. I'm still going on a walk. And I'm not telling you that because you have to live the same lifestyle as I do. But for me, the mental clarity comes from that. It's getting a breath of fresh air. It is not a challenging thing to go on a walk for me at this point in my life. And I'm not telling you that because it could be challenging for you. But in order to get there, you have to start somewhere. And I just wanted to share that because I know that in times that I do, even still, I go through waves of negativity or maybe slight depression or whatever it might be. And I find myself just wanting to either stay in bed or sit on the couch and just do nothing. And then I just want to sleep, right? And I get off track. And I think that's so relatable in a lot of aspects of our life. So wanted to share that with you. It's my takeaway. I know I kind of just went on a crazy tangent all around in a roundabout way circle. But let's end this thing with a random question generator. What story does your family always tell about you? The first one that comes to my mind is when I was like 4 years old. Everyone was waiting on me to come downstairs for Christmas. I poked my head down the stairs and I saw that everyone was down there waiting and I got really excited. So I started to run and literally made it about 2 steps down. I was 4 years old and I just ate it. Tumbled all the way down the stairs and apparently popped up and kept walking because I was so excited that Santa Claus had came. So that's my little story for you at the end of this. And gosh, I'm just thinking about this topic, and it's the most beneficial thing if you can build this pattern in your life to recognize, hey, I feel still, I feel stagnant. How do I get out of this? Because oftentimes it feels that you cannot get out of it. I know that feeling. But just going outside, getting sunlight, going on a walk, moving your body, call an old friend, change the external stimulus, and that thought pattern and everything begins to go down a new road for you. So that is all I have. I didn't even give my intro here on episode. I think this is going to be like 94, 95. Holy cow, we're almost to 100, and then it'll be time to have guests on. But I appreciate you watching. If you resonated with something I said, please share it with somebody. That's the best way you can help me out. This podcast, it doesn't get many views, but the views don't matter to me as long as I know someone is taking something away. If somebody was able, I always say this, if someone was able to hop on a camera and a microphone and change my life, I ultimately hope that I could provide some kind of value to one human being every day. And if that is you, I would appreciate, spreading that message to someone else, because there's 8 billion people in the world. And if we could keep spreading this message, and a lot of people do it, it's very positive. But the more we spread that, the more we can all live in an abundance of joy, and love. But with that said, I appreciate you. Hope you took something away. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you're the first one to see my videos here on the tube of you with me. I'll see you next time. Have an awesome day, and don't forget to smile.